So I think the most important thing about how to use water brushes is to know when to squeeze, like how to clean. So we clean the water brush when it's dirty with paint on the tip, so you have to squeeze it. This brush is like running low, so squeeze it on a towel or sponge or rag and just clean it like this, okay? So every time when you're mixing colors, so you're grabbing one color and putting it in the mixing area and you want to get another color, you clean it first before you grab that color to mix with the first color. So that's the two things you have to be aware. And also when you're painting on the paper, be aware that don't squeeze the water brush too much, otherwise you're going to have a whole pool of water or paint running everywhere. So most of the time when I'm painting on the paper, I don't squeeze the brush very much because I think that there's a small amount of water running down when you're painting, and then when you're not really squeezing, there's still a small amount of water like running down. When you're squeezing, you have a really big pool of water coming down. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do like a really quick, easy landscape to show you how to use water brushes, okay? Just gonna kind of like do some mountains right over here. So first of all, I'm gonna use my watery Hobbing water brush because it can cover a large area really quickly. So as always, I wet the area first before I add any paint. So to add water, you have to squeeze. So you have to squeeze like this. There's one part on your water brush that says push, okay? So you got to push with your thumb and first finger. Okay, so the water comes out and you just kind of spread it out on the area, okay? So make sure you don't squeeze too much, okay? Otherwise there's too much water on the paper. Maybe one squeeze is good enough to cover this area. Okay, now I see it's wet, so I'm gonna begin with this turquoise blue here. It's on top, okay, so wet on wet. You don't need to squeeze anymore right now, okay? You're just spreading the colors. No more squeezing. No more squeezing, because the more you squeeze, the color is gonna spread out unevenly and it's very hard to control, okay? And now, see how I clean my brush? Here's my towel. I'm just squeezing, you see water dripping down? And I'm just like rubbing it on the towel to clean the tip, okay? Just squeeze and rub to clean. Now I want to add, some sunset or sunrise colors here, like those golden colors on the bottom of the sky. Grab some yellow and orange. Okay. Again, no squeezing. I'm not squeezing because this water brush is so watery. Okay, and just let the colors blend together by themselves. You don't need to do too much rubbing and no more squeezing, okay? Clean my brush. I think I'm gonna paint the middle and bottom of the mountain first before I paint here, because you don't want the sky and the mountain colors to merge together here. This part is still drying. Okay, so I'm gonna paint the bottom first. I think I want to use purple, so just like painting from my imagination. Okay, no squeezing because I already wetted the area first. So now you may want to blend the colors. I want to blend in some magenta. So basically I'm squeezing a little bit water onto the magenta. Okay. Now just adding it on. This part I want to paint blue. Like ultramarine blue. So again, squeeze a drop of water onto the paint and rub a little more. Maybe just one squeeze is enough, okay? You don't need to squeeze a lot of water in it, just to save the water in your water brush. Just one squeeze is good enough. Rub and take the paint onto the mixing area. And then when you're painting on the paper, you don't need to squeeze anymore. The water brush is really, easy to use. The paint is very continuously running. I see the sky area is still drying. I'll wait a little longer. I think I'm gonna paint the bottom first. So now I'm mixing colors together. So when you're mixing colors together, when you're grabbing a new color, make sure you clean your brush first by squeezing it a couple times. Dab. Now I'm gonna grab some ultramarine blue to mix with the purple, so it's very dark. And then apply it on the area. When you think it's running out, just grab some more paint on the mixing area. And finally, for the top part of the mountain, I want to use magenta. So as you can see, it's quite wet, okay? So I don't need to squeeze any more water on it. So just grab it. And spread it, okay? And again, right now I'm painting on the paper and then I'm not squeezing my brush. It's very watery, it's so runny. So you want to kind of do a little bit more blending down, it's like this. Now I want to grab another color to blend on top. There it is. So on this sheet of paper, I'm going to show you how to use this Sakura water brush. Compared to the Holbein has a very broad and watery round tip. The Sakura had the smaller and thinner tip, so we can make thin lines and textures with it. Okay, so just play around. Okay, let's see. So maybe I'm gonna do like a broad pull of color here with my Holbein first, and I'm gonna add some ripples on top. So just gonna grab some green mixed with the purple. Just painting full of water here, okay? And let it dry a little bit before I add some ripples on top. For this area, I think I'm gonna paint the sky. Before I add any more darker clouds on top. Squeeze to clean. And add maybe a sunrise or sunset sky here. So squeeze when you feel the brush is really dry. So squeeze, the water is wetting the area. Squeeze. Okay, but don't over squeeze. It really takes practice. So you have to get a lot of scrap sheets or watercolor paper to practice to see how it works for you. Okay, so sometimes you may want to squeeze, but sometimes you don't want to squeeze too much to create like a really random effects with watercolors. So now I'm gonna add some simple ripples. I'll grab some ultramarine blue. Okay, as you can see, the Sakura, you can make very thin lines. Now I want to add some dark clouds on this sky area. So just grab. And now I'm not really squeezing the brush, okay? Just spread the paint out. So if you want to do some blending, and clean the brush a little bit on the towel, and then just rub the area a little bit. So this dark blue blob is kind of blending with a sky color. Add a darker layer if you want. Okay, so same idea here. So clean the brush first before you attempt any blending. Add another layer to blend together, okay? So these were kind of like wet on wet. This one is wet on dry. So basically that's how water brushes works. So you need a lot of scrap paper to kind of test it out how it works for you, okay? So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial on how to use water brushes. So I think the best way for you to learn is to try it yourself after watching my video. So you learn the best when you really do it by yourself. So if you have any difficulties or anything more that you want to learn about water brushes, so don't be afraid to leave me a comment below this video. And I'll see you next time.